In 1982, The Last American Virgin was just another teen comedy about first love and shattered innocence. But the truth behind it was far harsher than most films of its time. From courtroom battles and public accusations to shocking reinventions and unexpected comebacks, the cast faced struggles no one saw coming. Now, let's uncover who they really became and honor the legacies they left behind. Diane Franklin, as Karen Diane Franklin, was born on February 11, 1962, in Plainview, New York. At 20 years old, she played Karen, the captivating young woman whose decision devastates Gary in The Last American Virgin. Her portrayal defined the film's shock ending and cemented her image as an emblem of 1980s teen cinema. Growing up as the daughter of German immigrants, Franklin faced the added challenge of being deaf in her left ear. She balanced college studies at New York University with auditions before choosing acting full-time. The same year she starred in The Last American Virgin, she appeared in Amityville 2, The Possession, proving she could move from teen drama to psychological horror. That momentum continued with Better Off Dead, expanding her screen identity beyond one role. In 1989, she married animation writer Ray De Laurentiis. Their marriage endured while she balanced family life with selective returns to acting. As Hollywood's teen era faded, she adjusted her path, later revisiting the Amityville franchise and participating in independent films that reconnected her with longtime fans. Her partial deafness remained a lifelong challenge in a profession dependent on timing and sound. Instead of stepping away, she expanded into writing, publishing memoirs that revisited her 1980s rise with candor and reflection. The choice to tell her own story allowed her to reshape how audiences remembered her. Now, Diane Franklin is 64 years old. She continues acting in independent projects, attending conventions, and writing, fully embracing her legacy. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million built from film, television, books, and appearances, she remains a steady presence in the world that first made her famous. Lawrence Monoson as Gary. Lawrence Monoson was born on August 11, 1964, in Yonkers, New York. At 18 years old, he played Gary, the desperate, love-struck teenager chasing intimacy in The Last American Virgin. His performance carried the film's emotional collapse, turning a teen comedy into one of the most brutally honest endings of the 1980s. That vulnerability came from his troubled childhood. Raised in New York, Monoson committed early to formal training, refining his craft with discipline and focus. The pressure to mature quickly in the industry shaped him long before fame settled in. Soon after his breakout, he appeared in Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, and Mask. As adulthood arrived, his career entered a more uncertain phase. Being openly gay in an era of strict Hollywood expectations created invisible barriers that few discussed publicly at the time. While he continued working in television on projects such as ER and later CSY-NY, the roles became shorter and less defining. By the mid-2000s, the pace slowed. Guns. Before Butter marked his final film appearance, and his last television credit came in 2010. The distance from mainstream visibility grew wider, leaving behind the echo of a cult classic performance. Today, Lawrence Monoson is 62 years old. He lives privately in the United States, occasionally reconnecting with fans of The Last American Virgin while remaining largely outside mainstream entertainment. His estimated net worth of around $1 million reflects decades of steady work. Steve Antin as Rick. Steve Antin was born on April 19, 1958, in New York City, United States. At 24 years old, he played Rick, the arrogant, smooth-talking heartbreaker who betrays Gary's trust in The Last American Virgin. His role injected tension and rivalry into the story, making the emotional fallout far more explosive and unforgettable. That confidence on screen was forged in a household filled with ambition but little security. Raised in Queens as the son of British Jewish immigrants, Antin grew up in a creative family alongside siblings who would later enter entertainment, including Robin Antin, founder of the Pussycat Dolls. Yet support was not automatic. He pushed his way into acting through persistence. Small roles and stunt work built his discipline, leading to parts in The Goonies as Troy Perkins and later the disturbing role in The Accused. Romantic headlines followed when he publicly came out and was briefly involved with music mogul David Geffen. In an era when visibility carried risk, that openness positioned him as both bold and vulnerable. As acting roles shifted, Antin redirected his energy into writing and producing, creating Inside Monkey Zetterland and later writing Gloria and Chasing Poppy. The move behind the camera culminated in writing and directing Burlesque in 2010. Today, Steve Antin is 68 years old. He continues focusing on directing, producing, and mentoring emerging talent while remaining a respected figure behind the scenes. With an estimated net worth of around $4 million earned through acting, writing, and filmmaking, he stands as proof that sometimes the real power begins after stepping away from the spotlight. Joe Rubbo as David Joe Rubbo was born on July 26, 1963, in the Bronx, New York, United States. At 19 years old, he played David, the loud, comedic best friend whose reckless energy fuels much of the chaos in The Last American Virgin. His humor balanced the film's heartbreak, making the emotional crash at the end hit even harder. Growing up in the Bronx meant adapting quickly to a fast-paced urban environment. Rubbo gravitated toward performance early, carving out space for himself through charisma and timing. One of his first screen appearances came in The World According to Garp, followed by Hot Chili, reinforcing his place in 1980s youth cinema. He also became a recurring comedic presence on The Late Show with David Letterman, even portraying a fictional stepson in a memorable sketch. Marriage brought a quieter chapter. Rubbo married and built a family with 3 children, shifting priorities as Hollywood momentum slowed. Acting roles became less frequent, including a smaller appearance in Striptease. Rather than chase diminishing opportunities, he pivoted toward production and business, eventually working as a mortgage broker while serving as an executive producer for VIP Television in Florida. In 2026, Joe Rubbo is 63 years old. He lives in Florida, balancing business ventures with occasional appearances connected to The Last American Virgin. His estimated net worth of around $500,000 reflects a life split between entertainment and entrepreneurship. Louisa Moritz as Carmela. Louisa Moritz was born on September 25, 1936, in Havana, Cuba. At 46 years old, she played Carmela, the aggressively flirtatious, larger-than-life neighbor in The Last American Virgin. Her brief but bold presence added adult provocation and comic shock to a film centered on teenage innocence. Her path to Hollywood began with upheaval. Political instability in late 1950s Cuba pushed her to leave everything behind and arrive in New York in 1960 without speaking English. She reinvented herself, even changing her surname after spotting the St. Moritz Hotel, determined to distance her identity from Cuba's regime. Commercial work led to film roles, and she gained wide recognition as Rose in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and later appeared in Death Race 2000 and Up in Smoke. Marriage brought turbulence rather than stability. She married attorney William N. Fine twice, first from 1979 to 1980, then again from 1983 to 1984, and both unions ended in divorce. The pattern reflected a life marked by intensity and independence. In later years, she stepped away from acting, studied law in California, excelled academically, and became an attorney. Yet, even that chapter ended in controversy when she was disbarred after failing to comply with reporting requirements. Her later years were shaped by both courage and strain. In 2014, she became one of the first women to publicly accuse Bill Cosby of sexual assault, alleging misconduct in 1971. She filed a defamation lawsuit after he denied her claim. A fall during a visit to Washington, D.C., weakened her health, and age-related cardiovascular disease further complicated her condition. Sadly, she died on January 4, 2019, in Los Angeles at the age of 82 from natural causes linked to cardiovascular disease. Her estimated net worth was around $1 million at the time of her death, built through decades of acting, legal work, and real estate investments, including ownership of a Beverly Hills hotel she renamed Beverly Hills St. Moritz. Brian Peck as Victor. Brian Peck was born on July 29, 1960, in Huntington, Indiana. At 22 years old, he played Victor, one of the carefree members of the friend group in The Last American Virgin. His role added youthful energy and camaraderie to the story's chaotic misadventures. Raised in Indiana, Peck pursued theater studies at the University of Southern California, chasing opportunity in Hollywood. He became known to cult audiences as Scooz in The Return of the Living Dead, and later worked extensively behind the scenes as a dialogue coach on popular children's shows such as All That and The Amanda Show. He also directed the horror anthology The Willies and appeared in projects like X2, X-Men United. By the early 2000s, he was deeply embedded in youth television. Everything collapsed in 2004. After being arrested in 2003, Peck pleaded no contest to charges involving sexual misconduct with a minor. The victim was later revealed to be Drake Bell, who was 15 at the time of the abuse. Peck served 16 months in prison and was required to register as a sex offender for life. The conviction shattered his reputation and permanently altered his career. Although he briefly returned to voice work on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, he was dismissed once executives learned of his past. The scandal resurfaced publicly in 2024 when the docuseries Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, revisited the abuse allegations in detail. Former colleagues who had once written letters supporting him publicly apologized. The revelations reignited public outrage and forced renewed scrutiny of child safety within the entertainment industry. Now, Brian Peck is 66 years old. He lives in Los Angeles and has not worked in the entertainment industry since 2019. His estimated net worth of approximately $500,000 reflects a career overshadowed by conviction and scandal. Kimmy Robertson, as Rose Kimmy Robertson, was born on November 27, 1954, in Hollywood, Los Angeles, California. At 28 years old, she played Rose, the bubbly, flirtatious friend who added playful contrast to the awkward teenage chaos in The Last American Virgin. Her presence softened tense moments and brought a quirky charm that lingered beyond her screen time. Her journey began not in acting, but in ballet. Trained as a classical dancer, Robertson struggled when she shifted to film because of her unusually high-pitched voice and unconventional delivery. Casting directors were unsure where to place her, yet that very voice later became her signature. After her film debut, she appeared in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and then landed the role that defined her career, Lucy Moran in Twin Peaks, 1990. Directors David Lynch and Mark Frost encouraged her to improvise, turning her eccentric rhythm into one of the show's most beloved elements. In 2003, she married John Christian Walker, but the union ended in divorce in 2004. The separation came quietly, yet it marked a turning point as she refocused on voice work and selective appearances. During this period, she lent her voice to The Simpsons, Batman, the animated series, and Disney's Beauty and the Beast. Decades later, controversy erupted when a 2004 letter she had written in support of Brian Peck resurfaced in 2024, drawing public backlash after the release of Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV. The criticism was intense enough that she removed her social media presence. Today, Kimmy Robertson is 72 years old. She continues working primarily in voice acting and remains a recognizable figure at fan conventions tied to Twin Peaks. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million built from decades of acting and voice work, she stands as proof that uniqueness, once doubted, can become a career's strongest asset. Michael Chieffo as Soda Jerk. Michael Chieffo was born on September 15, 1955, in Huntington, New York, United States. At 31 years old, he played the soda jerk, a small but vivid presence contributing to the teenage atmosphere in The Last American Virgin. Though brief, his role reflected the grounded character work that would define his career. Raised in New York, Chieffo trained at the Juilliard School, sharpening his craft with discipline and classical foundation. Early years brought small parts and steady auditions, building resilience. Over time, he became a reliable supporting actor in major productions, appearing in L.A. Confidential as the coroner and later in films such as Argo and Live by Night. Television audiences recognized him from The X-Files, Mad Men, and Better Call Saul. In 1985, he married actress Beth Grant. Their marriage endured the pressures of 2 acting careers, long shoots, and constant travel. Together, they raised their daughter, Mary Chieffo, who followed them into acting. The family's shared profession created both connection and strain, yet their bond remained strong across decades. Chieffo's health challenges intensified in his later years. Though he continued working into the 2000s, his physical strength gradually declined. He remained active professionally, even earning a Best Supporting Actor nomination in 2022 for Fully Realized Humans, a testament to his commitment despite age-related health struggles. Tragically, he died on January 2nd, 2023, at the age of 71. His passing marked the end of a 4-decade career defined by consistency rather than celebrity. With an estimated net worth of around $1 million accumulated through steady film and television work, he left behind a respected legacy in Hollywood and a family that continues his theatrical tradition. Tessa Richarde as Brenda. Tessa Richarde was born on November 30, 1955, in Pinehurst, North Carolina, United States. At 27 years old, she played Brenda, the spirited, free-acting young woman who added reckless color to the social circle in The Last American Virgin. Though not the emotional center of the story, her presence amplified the film's raw teenage energy and atmosphere. Raised in North Carolina, Richarde stepped into Hollywood during the competitive early 1980s. She secured roles in projects like Cat People, 1982, and later appeared in National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983. Yet most of her work remained supporting, and the industry's rapid turnover left little room for gradual ascent. As roles became fewer, she gradually stepped back from the film industry instead of chasing diminishing opportunities. The decision to retreat from Hollywood often carries quiet weight, especially for actors whose breakthrough never fully arrived. After a short burst of 1980s visibility, she chose a life away from the cameras, allowing her screen appearances to remain frozen in that era. In 2026, Tessa Richarde is 71 years old. She resides privately, reportedly back in North Carolina, far removed from the Hollywood circuit. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000 accumulated through her acting years, her story reflects the fleeting nature of early fame. Bright, brief, and quietly concluded. Juliana McCarthy as counselor. Juliana McCarthy was born on August 17, 1929, in Erie, Pennsylvania, United States. At 53 years old, she played the counselor, a grounded adult presence in The Last American Virgin, representing authority amid teenage confusion. Her brief role reflected the steady maternal gravitas that defined much of her career. Her foundation was built on stage. McCarthy began in New York theater and appeared on Broadway in Inherit the Wind, where she performed alongside her husband, actor Michael Constantine. Transitioning from stage to screen required endurance, yet she established herself as Liz Foster on The Young and the Restless, portraying the matriarch from 1973 to 1986. She later appeared in The Frighteners and Starship Troopers, reinforcing her reputation as a dependable character actress. McCarthy married Michael Constantine in 1953, and they had 2 children, Thea and Brendan. The marriage lasted nearly 2 decades before ending in divorce in 1972. Balancing Broadway performances, television contracts, and motherhood created tension, and the separation marked a turning point. She continued working steadily, later returning multiple times to reprise Liz Foster before the character's on-screen death in 2010. Today, Juliana McCarthy is 97 years old. She has long stepped away from active acting, living a quiet life after decades on stage and screen. With an estimated net worth of around $2 million built from theater, soap opera prominence, and film roles, she remains part of television history as one of the enduring faces of daytime drama. Mel Welles as druggist. Mel Welles was born on February 17, 1924, in New York City, United States. At 58 years old, he played the druggist, the sharp-tongued, slightly eccentric adult figure who added comic edge to The Last American Virgin. Even in a small role, his seasoned delivery brought gravitas and dry humor that balanced the film's teenage recklessness. He grew up during the Great Depression, raised in a Jewish family with roots in Yiddish theater. Financial instability shaped his early years, pushing him to pursue education with intensity. He earned degrees from Penn State, West Virginia University, and later a Ph.D. in psychology from Columbia University before fully committing to performance. His breakthrough came as Gravis Mushnick in The Little Shop of Horrors, 1960. Later, he directed Lady Frankenstein, 1971, and worked extensively in European cinema, dubbing over 800 films across multiple languages. Welles married 3 times, first to Mary Verdoose, then to actress Mary Carsey Wells, and later to script supervisor Annie Wells, and became the father of 5 children. His life moved across 28 countries, blending artistry with constant reinvention. Between directing horror films like Man-Eater of Hydra and working as a radio DJ, he refused to stay confined to one identity. In later years, heart problems gradually weakened him. Despite returning to stage performances, including reprising Mushnick in a community production of Little Shop of Horrors, his health declined. He continued writing and developing projects until the end, including a horror screenplay titled House of 100 Horrors. Mel Welles died on August 19, 2005, in Norfolk, Virginia, at the age of 81 from heart failure. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was around $1 million, earned through decades of acting, directing, dubbing, and teaching. Paul Keith as father. Paul Keith was born on June 1, 1944, in Chicago, Illinois, United States. At 38 years old, he played father, the emotionally distant parent figure, in The Last American Virgin. His restrained presence underscored the generational divide that framed the film's teenage turmoil. Raised in Chicago, Keith pursued acting with steady determination rather than instant fame. The early decades of his career were filled with smaller roles, building a reputation as a dependable supporting actor. He later appeared in films such as The Family Man, 2000, Ghost World, 2001, and Pirates of the Caribbean. The Curse of the Black Pearl, 2003, often portraying authority figures whose quiet intensity left subtle impact. His career never centered on stardom, but on consistency. As he aged, health challenges associated with natural decline gradually limited his appearances. He stepped away from frequent screen work while maintaining ties to the industry community that had shaped his life. Sadly, he died on September 2, 2024, at the age of 80 from natural causes. His estimated net worth at the time of his death was approximately $500,000, built through years of steady supporting roles. Sandy Sprung, as Mother Sandy Sprung, was born on November 13, 1932, in Brooklyn, New York, United States. At 50 years old, she played Mother, the steady, grounding presence in The Last American Virgin, representing parental stability amid teenage confusion. Her brief role reinforced the emotional contrast between reckless youth and quiet domestic order. Growing up in Brooklyn, Sprung entered the entertainment world during an era when opportunities for women behind the scenes were limited. Early acting parts were modest, and she often worked in smaller television appearances while building credibility. Her persistence eventually led her into writing and producing, contributing to projects such as Mork and Mindy, and later Married with Children, where her behind-the-camera work shaped episodes of one of television's longest-running sitcoms. In her later years, natural age-related health decline gradually limited public appearances. She remained connected to the industry community she had served for decades, respected more for her reliability than celebrity. Sandy Sprung died on June 18, 2024, in Los Angeles at the age of 91 from natural causes. At the time of her death, her estimated net worth was around $1 million, accumulated through decades of writing, producing, and acting. From awkward teenage heartbreak to lives shaped by reinvention, scandal, resilience, and quiet retirement, the cast of The Last American Virgin, 1982, has traveled paths few could have predicted. Which transformation shocked you the most, and whose story stayed with you the longest? If you enjoyed this look at The Last American Virgin, 1982, cast then and now, 2026, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more deep dives into the stars you thought you knew.